Scotland Yard, Part 1, production number 1647, recorded the 6th of July, 1973, take 1.
Well, here we are. This is where I live.
It looks very nice.
Yeah.
Well, Mrs. Leopold, I hope you enjoyed the evening.
Yeah. It's been great. So far.
I'll say goodnight then.
What? You say what? Listen, I hired you for the entire evening, and it isn't even midnight.
Well, the agency said you wanted to be escorted out to dinner.
Yeah, that's right. But now I want to be escorted right into my own little apartment. Oh, come on. A couple of more drinks won't kill you.
I'd really like to, Mrs. Leopold, but...
But,
well...
But what? So? So what's stopping you?
The wife's in bed with the flu.
You really do have such a romantic approach, don't you? Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you another £5 and you can tell me the entire medical history of your whole family. Oh, you just don't walk out on me like that, okay?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I haven't been very good company this evening.
Oh, get it? I don't know what I was expecting anyway. Really.
Good night then, Mrs. Leopold.
Yeah. Well, looks like it's just you and me, baby. What the hell is that? Oh, my God!
Asphyxia due to manual strangulation. Multiple fractures of the skull. Won't take any chances, will you? Like to see a picture? The marks around the neck are where the jewellery was ripped off her. Oh, come on, you don't have to put on a show for my benefit. You've seen people beaten up before.
No, women, for God's sake. You can't be that squeamish, Grant. You wouldn't have made it as a fighter.
I didn't make it, did I?
So you took up hustling instead.
Look, I never slept with them. Well, that was never part of the deal.
They just paid you to make light conversation and then take them out to dinner.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that all they wanted?
Well, that's all they were getting. I happen to prefer my wife.
Mrs. Leopold, was it the first time you'd met?
No.
When was the first time?
Last Saturday, the agency rang up, said an American woman wanted someone to take her to the races. I had to meet her at the reception desk of the Grosvenor Hotel. She'd been having lunch there. And then we took the train to Kempton Park.
And later, you took her back to her flat?
Well, I've never been in the flat. I put her in a taxi at Victoria Station.
And a few nights later, she asked for you again?
Yeah.
All right, well, last night, who suggested you went back to the flat?
I don't think anyone suggested it. It was just understood that I'd take her home. Well, I've been engaged as her escort for the evening. I couldn't very well just dump her.
You could have put her in a cab like you did the first time.
Yeah, well, this was different. It was late at night, you know, she'd had a few drinks.
How much do you get for escorting these women?
Usual fee, 10 guineas.
Did she pay you herself?
No, we're not allowed to accept money from clients direct. The agency pays out at the end of the month.
The HF Escort Agency, 10 Sutton Mews. What does the HF stand for?
The woman that runs it is a Mrs. Holland Fox.
What sort of people work for her? Does she hire out girls as well?
Oh, yeah.
How did you hear of the place?
Through an actor friend of mine.
Easy way of picking up a few quid, eh?
It's not all that easy, I can tell you.
It's a good way of meeting rich widows. Beats boxing any time. Yes.
Where with you, sir?
The description of the jewellery she was wearing and the stuff in the flat. Now, the American insurance people have pictures of every item, and they'll be putting them on the wire machine this evening.
Grant, what sort of jewellery was Mrs. Leopold wearing?
She had on several big diamond rings and a necklace of star sapphires.
Jewellery expert as well.
No. She told me what they were. I'd never seen stones like that before.
Well, we'll see if we can give you another opportunity. All right, have that circulated. Tell them they'll have the pictures later.
Right, sir. Oh, and, sir, I thought you better be seeing this. It's just come in.
All right.
Right, sir.
Apart from yourself, who else knew that Mrs. Leopold was going to be out all last evening?
I haven't the faintest idea. Lots of people might have done.
Oh, you think she rang up all her friends and told them she'd hired a young man to take her out to dinner?
No, but... Well, anyway, the people from the agency would have known.
Oh, yes. This, Mrs. Holland Fox, perhaps she tipped him off.
Tipped who off? What are you getting at?
I don't believe it was pure chance that somebody got into the flat and turned it over just when you happened to be keeping Mrs. Leopold busy.
You think someone was there? A burglar?
Well, someone killed her. You say it wasn't you.
So you do believe me?
I don't believe anybody. Sergeant Murphy. Now, look, I suggest you go away somewhere nice and quiet, sit down, and try to think. Who knew that you were going out with Mrs. Leopold last night? Who did you tell where she lived? Yes. All right, Sergeant. Take your time. There's no hurry.
It was a bit of a quick turnabout, wasn't it? I thought things looked quite promising. What happened?
Night porter in the block of flats. He saw Grant arrive with Mrs. Leopold. They went up in the automatic lift together. It came straight down. He got out alone. The man's quite positive. Couldn't have been upstairs for more than a couple of minutes.
Well, so what? He could still have killed her.
And ransacked the flat as well. No, I don't think so. I think I'll pay a call on this agency.
Search warrant?
Yes. I'll talk to Murphy about it on the way out.
Right.
Oh, and if any lawyers ring up wanting to know what's happened to Grant, tell them he's being questioned as a possible accomplice.
Accomplice? Oh, no, Mr. Kingdom, I'm sure you must be wrong. The agency takes great care not to take on anyone who might be in any way, undesirable.
And you've had no complaints about Jeff Grant?
No, not at all. In fact, several of our clients have asked to have him again, but we don't encourage that.
Why not?
Well, this is a commercial enterprise, Mr. Kingdom. If the clients and our escorts become too interested in each other, they might start making their own arrangements, and we should lose our commission.
It sounds rather clinical.
Oh, we try to keep it human.
Mrs. Leopold, had she been a client for long?
No, I think she'd only been in London for a week or two. She saw our advertisement in the Underground. Perhaps you've seen it?
I don't think so.
It says, don't go out alone.
Oh, pretty good advice these days. Didn't do Mrs. Leopold much good. Well, what happened? Did she telephone?
Yes, and I asked her to come round here to the office. I always do that, so that I can get an idea of a person's requirements.
And what were Mrs. Leopold's requirements?
She was obviously very lonely. Her husband had died a few years ago, leaving her very well off. She didn't know anybody in London. She just wanted a little companionship. That's all.
Rather a risky way of finding it.
Oh, I don't agree. No, I think it was very sensible of her. After all, Mr. Kingdom, what is the alternative? It's not very easy, you know, when you're all on your own in a strange city,
And you're not particularly young or particularly interesting.
Just particularly rich.
Well, that makes it all the more difficult, don't you see? I mean, women who sit around on their own in hotel bars, covered in diamonds, well, they really are asking for trouble, aren't they?
And you decided what she needed was a well-set-up young boxer.
Yes. I think it did her morale no end of good to be seen around with Jeff Grant. How did you know that he'd been out with her?
He called round at the yard this afternoon.
And volunteered the information?
Not necessarily all of it.
Oh, well, surely if he'd had anything to do with
The
her
body
death...
was discovered at 11 o'clock this morning. By 3:30, all the evening papers were full of it. Obviously, he was trying to keep himself in the clear.
Yes, I suppose you would have been bound to find out sooner or later. I mean, somebody must have seen them together. But all the same, I'm quite sure he had nothing whatever to do with it.
Why not?
Well, he's not the type.
They never are, that's the whole point. You'd be surprised where thieves get their information from. Quite ordinary, respectable, even well-connected people who don't mind giving the odd tip-off.
Really? How fascinating. Oh, excuse me. Betty, I said I didn't want to be... Oh. Oh, yes, all right, put him through. Good evening, Your Excellency. Yes, for tomorrow night? Yes, I think so. I'll see if Sheila's free. She's very fond of the opera. Yes, I'll call you first thing tomorrow morning. Not at all. Good night.
He could have slipped out while they were in the restaurant. And telephoned his accomplice.
Oh, yes, I suppose so, but it doesn't seem a very efficient way of setting up a burglary to me. I wouldn't go about it like that at all, would you? Enid, could you see if Sheila's free, please?
No, I'm afraid she isn't.
Oh, damn. I've got to have somebody to go to Tosca.
I'll look through the files.
Thanks. Much more difficult than making up a party for a discotheque.
But equally respectable.
Well, yes, of course. You mustn't think we're running some sort of cattle market. It's not like that at all. It's much more like a form of social service. Oh, I don't think you know Miss Flint, our manageress. This is Detective Chief Superintendent Kingdom.
Oh.
He's looking into the death of Mrs. Leopold.
Oh, that poor woman.
Yes, well, don't let's go on about it. Is this the file? Yes, thanks.
Valerie's quite musical.
Valerie, yes. She's not much of a talker, though, is she? Still, at the opera, I suppose that could be an advantage.
Shall I book her then?
Yes, please. Thanks. Oh.
Well, you work late, don't you?
Yes, there's always a bit of a rush about now. And I usually need a drink by this time. May I get you one?
Oh, no, thank you.
You don't mind if I do?
No, carry on.
Yes, people suddenly decide they want to go out and need an escort in a hurry. Foreign embassies are always the worst. They never seem to be able to make up their mind. Well, I'm afraid I haven't really been very much help to you. Still, I hope I've given you some idea how our organisation works.
Oh, yes. Very interesting.
And I hope you've changed your mind.
Changed my mind.
Yes. You came here expecting to find some sort of bedizened madam, didn't you? And the whole place jumping with tarts and gigolers. Now, be honest.
Well, I wasn't quite sure what to expect.
Well, I'm sorry we can't give you a practical demonstration. I mean, of the sort of services that we offer. Then perhaps next time you wouldn't be quite so suspicious.
What sort of a demonstration?
One of our girls could accompany you to dinner and see what she could do to smooth you out.
Oh, do you think I need smoothing out?
Doesn't everybody at the end of a long, hard day? Oh, yes, I think it would do you a world of good. To have a delicious meal somewhere with an agreeable companion.
You could be right.
Only trouble is, I don't have any girls free.
Pity. I was quite looking forward to it.
No, some other time then.
Yes.
Unless, of course, you'd be prepared to accept me as a substitute.
You, Mrs. Holland Fox?
I promise I won't talk shop.
Well, what's the time? Well, yes, I suppose I could.
Well, that's hardly what I'd call jumping at the offer.
I'm sorry. No, I'd like to very much. Only I'm afraid you will have to talk shop.
Huh?
Yes, my shop.
Your murder?
Of course.
Oh, very well. We'll call it a working dinner.
I'll just have to let them know where I am.
Them? Your wife?
My office. I use the phone?
Yes, of course. How about the Salonika in Jermyn Street?
Fine.
Oh, that's the outside line. I'll just go and freshen up.
Somewhat.
Ah, hello, Alan. Listen, I'm just going out to dinner. Yeah, so if you want to get hold of me, I shall be at the Salonika in Jermyn Street, right? Only don't ask for me. Ask for Mrs. Holland Fox's escort.
Yep.
Well, I haven't finished questioning her yet. Now, has Murphy got the search warrant?
Yes, he's waiting outside the agency now.
Are you in radio contact?
Yeah.
All right, we'll tell him to stay put until we leave, and then to move in. There'll be a secretary here.
All right.
Fine. Right, I don't think that... Anything else?
Yeah, well, we got a photo of the jewellery. Pretty unusual stuff. Won't be easy to shift unless it's broken up. Even then, I don't think there'll be many buyers.
All right, fine. But...
Everything all right?
Yes, fine, thank you.
There's a police car parked outside. Is that anything to do with you?
Oh, I think we'll be much more comfortable in a taxi.
I think so too. I've ordered one.
Mr. Stavros, this is Mrs. Holland Fox's secretary. She'd like to have a table for two immediately. Yes, she's on her way there now. Oh, and a bottle of the usual. On ice, please. She said thank you very much. Good evening. Can I help you?
Good evening, Detective Sergeant Murphy.
Oh, did you want to see Mr. Kingdom? He's just left.
No, miss, I'd like to speak to somebody in authority.
Well, Mrs. Holland Fox has gone too. Would you like to see the manageress, Miss Flint? I think she's still here.
That'll be fine.
Thank you. Extraordinary how delicious Greek food can be. So long as you're not actually in Greece, of course. See anything there?
Very nice, yeah? Better than the traditional ham sandwich in the office.
And I hope you'll approve of this.
Oh, yes, certainly. Somebody must be psychic.
Stavros is an old friend. He knows my tastes.
Thank you.
Nice. I think I'll have the avgolemenno with the baby lamb with rosemary. How about you?
I think I'll have the same. You sound like a woman of experience.
Woman of experience, yes. I suppose I
I'm
am.
sorry.
No, I think innocence is very overrated, don't you?
I wouldn't know. I don't come across it very often. And now, can we get back to the young man, Jeff Grant?
Must we?
Sooner or later.
Oh, well, let's make it sooner. And then we can have our dinner in peace.
Well, that's where I work. And this is Mrs. Holland Fox's office.
Do you have a key to that safe?
Yes.
Could you open it, please?
Oh, look, is this really necessary?
Oh, come on, miss. I'm not doing this for laughs. Open it.
Excuse me.
Keep an awful lot of money in here, don't you?
Most of our clients prefer to pay in cash.
I suppose they do. What's this?
I've no idea.
You're the manageress, aren't you?
Oh, yes, but that's nothing to do with the business. That's something personal of Mrs. Holland Fox's.
Is it?
Look, you've no right to open her private correspondence.
You've seen my warrant. Now, Miss Flint, what about you telling me all you know about these?
I've already told you I don't know anything. I didn't even know what was in the envelope.
But you do have a key to the safe.
Only because I pay in and pay out.
I don't use it to pry into Mrs. Holland Fox's affairs.
You make a statement to that effect.
Of course.
Get
If
these
necessary.
round to the yard, will you? Sergeant Ward, tell him, I don't know. I'll talk to myself on the
Look,
phone.
I really must protest.
You'll get a receipt.
Oh, but why take them at all? I mean, 2 old snapshots, whatever they are. What on earth can they have to do with Mrs. Leopold's death?
You know, that is a very good question. And I expect Mrs. Holland Fox will be able to answer it in due course.
Mr. Kingdom,
Oh, I'm sorry.
don't you ever relax?
Sometimes.
Well, why not now? You've asked all your questions, haven't you? You can't be on duty all the time.
I'm sorry, it does become rather a habit. Don't you find you have the same problem?
Me? Oh, I'm not on duty. This is pure pleasure.
Oh, I thought you were just trying out your technique for smoothing out tired policemen.
Oh, oh, that was just an excuse. I really did want to have dinner with you. Quite apart from finding you very interesting, I wanted to discover if I was under any kind of suspicion.
I see. Are you?
Well, if you really thought I was the queen bee of a gang of jewel thieves, I don't think you'd want to be seen out with me in public. Am I right?
Quite right.
Oh, I couldn't be more pleased.
Excuse me, sir. You are wanted on the phone.
Damn, I'm sorry, it always happens. Excuse me, man.
This way, sir.
Yes?
Oh, I hope I'm not interrupting.
Your timing's terrible.
Oh. Well, something's just come up. I thought you ought to know about it.
What is it?
Murphy just got back from the agency. The manageress was very helpful. She showed him everything. He even opened the safe.
And?
Well, there were 2 negatives inside a brown envelope, what you might call candid camera shots. Very candid.
Had prints made?
Yes.
Well, anyone you recognise?
Well, one of them's a young couple, unidentified, in what looks like a hotel room. Could be a bit of ordinary porn, but I doubt it somehow. The other one looks as though it's been taken in the same place, but this time it's featuring Jeff Grant.
Oh, and who's the woman?
Well, it's certainly not Mrs. Leopold. It looks like a middle-aged Oriental lady. And I've got a feeling she didn't know she was being snapped. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm seeing her.
Perhaps you ought not to be. Aren't you keeping rather dubious company?
Well, not bad news, I hope.
It depends who for. May I have the bill, please?
Well, you're not leaving already. It can't be as bad as that. Besides, I invited you.
No, I insist.
But we haven't eaten anything. Well, has there been another murder?
Madam, would you like a photograph?
Look, put that away, I'll break your
Sir,
neck.
a little souvenir.
Wait.
Really, you're being very rude.
Nice big smile.
Why don't you take it out of this?
Hold it.
Sir, I've made a note of the number. Thank you very much, sir. Goodbye, sir.
Who's that?
A neighbour in the block of flats reckons he saw someone hang around in the corridors last night.
Description?
It's pretty vague. Doesn't look the class of person who could afford to take those flats, though. £30 a week. I ask you, how do they afford it?
Yeah, business expenses. Anything else?
Seem to have made 1 or 2 friends in a second-hand jewellery business.
Quite a chorus of birdsong.
I don't like it when someone gets themselves killed. Squeamish lot, jewellers.
Anything tally?
Not yet.
Oh, well. Nice to know they care. Oh, I'm sorry if I ruined your dinner date.
Don't worry. Something tells me I'll be seeing more of that lady very soon. So look at those pictures.
There we are, sir.
Well, it's not the most erotic picture you ever saw, is it? I mean, if that was stuck up outside a strip club, it wouldn't exactly lure you in.
No, but then middle-aged Oriental ladies don't actually turn me on.
So, blackmail photograph?
Could be.
Let's have Grant in again.
Right, sir.
Do you think Mrs. Leopold was being blackmailed?
Well, maybe they tried to put the screws on her and she didn't want to play. They couldn't get any money out of her, so they took her jewels instead.
And you think she was killed by accident?
I don't know.
Oh, well, perhaps Mr. Grant can tell us.
Look, I want to know why you're keeping me here.
You're helping the police with their inquiry.
Well, I can't help you. I don't know anything about it apart from what I've told you.
Missed out a couple of things, didn't you? You told me that when you took these women out, all you did was make conversation and let them buy you expensive dinners.
That is rather an offensive way of putting it.
Not half as offensive as the truth.
Yes, I know how you feel. I don't photograph too well myself.
Where'd you get this?
Oh, I shouldn't worry too much about that if I were you.
You must have seen it before.
No, I swear.
Well, you're not going to tell us it's a fake.
It wouldn't worry me so much if it was.
Ah. Now, we're getting somewhere. You admit, then, do you, that the incident depicted actually took place?
Yeah, but I thought we were alone.
No, really?
Question is, who are we?
I think she was called Madame Quain, something like that. I went out with her a couple of times.
Client of the agency?
Yeah, Mrs. Holland Fox asked me to look after her especially well.
Well, you certainly did that.
Somebody important, then.
I think she worked in an embassy. She wasn't in London for very long.
Now, since you say you don't normally sleep with your clients, why was it different this time?
I don't know, really. I think...
Come on, Grant. I was right the first time, wasn't I? These women didn't pay you for the sake of your sparkling conversation. You were the bait to get them into this trap. Now, who took this picture?
I swear to you, I never knew there was a picture.
All right. Where was it taken, then?
I don't know. I can't remember. Small hotel, I think.
Where?
Honestly, I can't tell you. Somewhere in the West End. Well, she suggested it.
Oh, she did. She just happened to know a hotel where a couple could go without
She
any
said
luggage.
she got the address from Mrs. Holland Fox.
You quite sure you never took Mrs. Leopold there?
Positive. I told you everything I know about her. Look, I don't see why you have to bring all this up. God knows what my wife's going to say. I'm not going to answer any more questions till I've seen my lawyer.
Oh, he phoned earlier. Don't worry, I put him in the picture.
Well, I want to talk to him.
You can do that in the morning. It won't hurt you to sleep alone for once. All right, Sergeant.
Tom Ward. Ah, yeah, put him on. Hello, Moisha. What can I do for you? All right already. What can you do for me? Star sapphires. Right. When? Well, who then? Oh, look, if it's the 2p you're bothered about. All right, I'll send someone over. Yes. Bye. Moisha Dalberg, Commercial Road. He didn't want to talk about it on the phone, but he thinks he's onto something.
Somebody tried to sell him the stones?
Presumably.
Better get over there, then.
Who, me?
Oh, yes. After all, you've had your dinner.
Good morning, Mr. Kingdom. I presume you've come to apologize?
Let's cut all that out, shall we? You wasted a good deal of my time last night.
That's not very polite.
I suppose you wanted to get me out of here so that I wouldn't make any further investigations.
Now, isn't that strange? I thought you were trying to get me out of here so that your man could bully poor Miss Flint into letting him ransack my safe.
Oh, you've noticed what's missing, then?
It's rather peculiar photographs, yes. Very embarrassing for poor Jeff. He and his wife are so devoted.
You should have thought of that earlier.
Well, I'm afraid that was probably my fault. I asked him to be particularly nice to Madame Quang. I suppose you are quite right. I wasn't entirely frank with you last night. There are times when we have a client who is not content with just dinner.
That doesn't explain the photograph.
Well, I know this is going to sound very extraordinary, but sometimes when we have a client who's had a particularly good time, they ask us to arrange a little souvenir.
Well, I've listened to some unlikely explanations in my time. That just about beats the lot.
Doesn't happen very often.
I bet it doesn't. But since we're going through your album, who are those two?
The girl works for me. Her name is Rusty Jackson. The man's a client, a Mr. Vectis.
Give me their addresses. I want to talk to them.
They've got nothing whatever to do with the death of Mrs.
Leopold. That's a murder case. This is a blackmail case. I'm interested in both.
Oh. You think I'm blackmailing Mr. Vectis, do you?
Yes, I do. Now, where do I find him?
The Moravian Embassy. Do you want to speak to him now? I'll get my secretary to put you through. Betty, would you get Mr. Vectis for me, please?
So he's a diplomat, too.
No. He's here on some business. They've given him a flat in the embassy annex. Do you want to speak to him, or shall I? If you pick up that, we both can. Hello?
My dear Mrs. Holland Fox, you must be psychic. I was just going to call you.
Oh, really?
I was wondering if you could fix up something for me tonight.
Yes, of course.
My friend Alexei has just arrived. He doesn't know anybody in London. I promised to show him around. Oh, by the way, he likes blondes.
Oh, very well. I'll see what I can do. And what about you?
I tell you what, that girl I was with last Tuesday, the one with red hair...
Oh, you and Rusty got on well together, did you? Yes. Well, I don't think she has anything on this evening.
Thank you very much.
Well, he certainly didn't sound as if he was being blackmailed. I'm not going to believe all that guff about people wanting photographs of themselves as souvenirs. I mean, it's not exactly Mr. Vectis and friend sharing a joke at the point-to-point.
Well, if the picture wasn't taken until Tuesday night, maybe she hasn't got around to sending it.
That's true. And the other possibility is that it wasn't Vectis on the phone at all.
Yes, Vectis in the picture, all right.
You checked out, have you?
I got on to Special Branch. They put me in touch with the man at the Foreign Office, Colonel Pugh. He seemed to know the name at once.
Funny.
Yes, I thought so too, considering the amount of dodgy aliens he's supposed to be keeping his eye on.
Did Special Branch say how he reacted?
Well, they didn't have to. He phoned here himself. I suppose panic is too strong a word, but he did seem a bit upset. He insisted on coming round. He's been waiting out there for about a half an hour.
Really? Ask Colonel Pugh to come in, will you, please?
We're a bit short on magazines here, so I gave him the picture to look at. A tasteful head and shoulder shot. He identified Vectis, but it didn't seem to make him any happier.
You didn't tell him what it was all about?
Oh, no, I thought I'd leave that bit to you.
Oh, yes, do come in, Colonel. You shouldn't have troubled to come over yourself.
That is for me to decide, isn't it?
Look, there's no question of this man Vectis being guilty of any criminal offence, and strictly speaking is not a diplomat, so we weren't bound to inform your section. I just thought you might like to know.
Oh, come to the point, Kingdom. Know what?
Well, somebody's trying to blackmail him.
Oh? Do you know who?
We've a pretty good idea. The trouble is, it hasn't happened yet. For once, we appear to have detected a crime before it's been committed.
I see.
You've met Vectis personally, have you, Colonel?
I wouldn't say met. The authorities have been keeping tabs on him.
Any particular reason?
He's a thoroughly undesirable character.
Can't you be a little more specific?
I've got the same problem you have, Kingdom. The crime hasn't yet been committed. More than that, I'm not prepared to say.
What's preventing you, Colonel? The law of libel or the Official Secrets Act?
Do you know anything about his previous form?
Not very much. I was relying on you for that.
Well, he's an expert in what the papers call urban terrorism. Now, there are a hell of a lot of amateurs in that game, planting bombs around the place that don't go off. But Vectis is a professional.
And how long's he been in London?
A couple of weeks.
Well, you've kept remarkably quiet about it, haven't you, Colonel? I'd have thought it might have been just worth mentioning to the Yard.
Oh, Special Branch are in the picture, of course, but Moravia is rather a sensitive area at the moment.
So, Westminster Abbey and the Houses of Parliament. What are we supposed to do? Wait until 300 or 400 people have been blown up?
You can't deport him on suspicion. Now, look, Kingdom, I'll be perfectly frank with you. We'd rather you left all that side of it to us.
I see. And what about the other side of it? Do I have your permission to continue with my investigations into the blackmail ring?
Well, to be quite honest...
Colonel! Whenever people tell me they're going to be quite honest or tell me they're going to speak perfectly frankly, I get very, very suspicious. You were saying?
Well, let me put it this way. I think you'll soon be receiving some advice from the Home Office.
Advice?
Not to pursue your investigations any further.
Sergeant Ward?
Yes, sir.
You heard what the Colonel said?
Yes, sir.
I wish I could give him my reasons. The fact is, old boy, I can't.
Well, in that case, old boy, there's no point in going on with this conversation, is there?
No, I suppose not. But, don't worry, Kingdom. You won't get into trouble.
Thank you.
I'll have a word with the Under-Secretary of State. Tell him what's in my mind.
As long as you don't tell him what's in mine.
There's no need to get so upset. It has nothing to do with this murder inquiry of yours.
Oh, I'm allowed to continue with that, am I?
Oh, yes. Yes, of course.
You don't usually get quite such a broad hint from the cloak and dagger department.
Well, maybe he's being blackmailed as well. Perhaps somebody took some snaps at their last office party. You haven't met Mrs. Holland Fox yet, have you?
Me? No, why?
Well, perhaps it's time you did.
What about the jewellery?
You mean you'd rather spend the evening with Moishe Dahlberg?
Well, Chummy did say he was going to go over there. You never know. Moishe gave him his address. He said he'd be there about midnight.
Look, we've got a team there, haven't we, keeping the place under observation?
Yes, of course.
All right, well, I'll pop round there myself later on. In the meantime, I thought you might like to take it easy with one of Mrs. Holland Fox's girls, and who knows? You might even get your photograph taken.
What, you mean a sort of agent provocateur? Yes, yes, I might, mightn't I? Yeah, let's have another look.
You can't have Rusty. She's engaged already for a repeat performance.
Oh, you do look lovely, Mrs. Holland Fox. Where are you going? My brother's taking me to the theatre, and we're going to have supper back at the flat. I'll be there at about 11 if there's any problems.
Oh, I'm sure there won't be.
Well, you never know. If any more policemen come round wanting to look in the safe, you'll let me know, won't you?
Yes, look, I'm terribly sorry, Mrs. Holland Fox. I simply didn't know what to do. He did have a search warrant.
Oh, yes, can't be helped.
Oh, by the way, Rusty's outside. She wants to have a word with you.
Rusty? Oh, Lord, I clean forgot all about her. You better send her in.
Sorry to bother you, Mrs. Holland Fox, but I think there's been a muddle and I don't know where I'm supposed to be.
Oh, Rusty, I'm so sorry. It's entirely my fault. I've forgotten to make a booking for you.
But I've just had my hair done.
Yes, I see you have. Looks very nice.
Well, hasn't that Leonard rung up then?
Who's Leonard?
Leonard Vectis. Oh, you remember. I went out with him on Tuesday and we had ever such a good time. He wanted to see me again tonight. Well, naturally, I said he'd have to ask you first.
Well, I'm afraid he didn't.
But he definitely said he wanted to see me.
Well, he did ring up and make a booking, but it wasn't for you.
What?
No, he particularly asked for Rosalind.
Well, I think that's rotten. We got on ever so well together.
Yes, dear, I'm sure you did. It's probably he just wanted a change or something.
Oh, that's just great, isn't it? What am I supposed to do? Push off home?
No, not at all. Betty, would you send Mr. Van der Merwe in?
Who's he when he's at home?
He's not at home, very far from it. He's just arrived in London and he doesn't know a soul. Ah, here is Mr. Van der Merwe. Can I introduce Miss Rusty Jackson? I'm sure you two will get on very well together.
Rusty, did you say? My, that's a pretty name.
Vectis? No. No, I'm quite certain there is no Mr. Vectis in the embassy.
But you said just now it's a very common name in Moravia.
Yes, that is so, but at the moment we have no Mr. Vectis.
Oh, dear. Well, in that case, our Foreign Office records must be wrong. According to them, a Leonid Vectis arrived in London 2 weeks ago from Algeria.
Oh? I have no knowledge of this.
He said he was an official member of a trade mission. Oh, about 27, mid-brown hair, greenish eyes. Yeah. I should like to see a photograph of him.
Why are you so interested in this person?
We're trying to protect him.
Why should that be necessary?
Oh, look, there's nothing political about this. It's just that I feel he's as much entitled to police protection as any other young man who gets himself into trouble.
Trouble?
Well, as you probably know, we have a great many criminals here in London.
Yes, it is one of the defects of your system.
Yes, and they're always only too ready to take advantage of someone who behaves foolishly. But still, I won't take up any more of your time. Obviously, there's some mistake if you say he's not one of yours.
What do you mean exactly by foolishness?
It doesn't really matter, does it?
Perhaps I should tell you that if any of our personnel attract the attention of your police for any reason whatsoever, The People's Republic of Moravia will not cooperate.
Ah, that's why you never pay your parking fines, eh?
I am not joking, Mr. Kingdom. You see, we do not have any confidence in your kind of justice.
You mean you wouldn't even allow Vectis to appear as a prosecution witness?
Certainly not. You claim diplomatic immunity as a matter of principle.
You'd have a hard time doing that, wouldn't you, if the man doesn't exist? But he does exist, doesn't he?
Maybe he does, and maybe he doesn't.
I'll toss you for it.
But if he does, you can't see him. Goodbye, Mr. Kingdom.
Just one last word of advice, sir. I wouldn't let him out alone if I were you.
You certainly got a hearty appetite.
Well, you see, the only time I get to eat is when I'm out on a date. Restaurants are awfully expensive nowadays.
Yes, I noticed.
You know, it's funny you should bring me here. Mrs. Holland Fox always likes us to come here. Between you and me, I think she gets a discount. Still, we didn't come here to talk about food. Let's talk about you.
There's nothing very much to say.
Oh, now don't go all shy, Mr. van der Merwe. You know, I like men who wear glasses.
Oh, really? The girls in South Africa, they go for the more athletic type.
Oh, but I'm sure you've got other qualities.
I beg your pardon?
Well, I bet you probably own a gold mine or something.
Oh, no, nothing like that.
Oh, diamonds?
You're making a lot of inquiries about my personal circumstances.
Oh, sorry, Mr. van der Merwe.
It just makes a chap a bit apprehensive.
Here, you don't think I'm after your money, do you?
No, of course not. Just a chap in my position, he runs an almighty risk. But the agency was recommended to me as being strictly on the level.
I'm glad of that. How'd you hear of it anyway?
Through a diplomatic friend of mine, Mr. Vectis.
No, isn't that a coincidence? I know him quite well. As a matter of fact, I was supposed to be going out with him tonight.
Oh, really?
But he must have changed his mind, because he asked for my friend Rosalind instead.
Oh.
Still, it's an ill wind. I mean, if Mr. Vectis hadn't stood me up, I would never have met you. So really, I couldn't care less.
Well, it was certainly a very happy accident for me too, Rusty. Tell me, what do you think of my friend, Mr. Vectis?
I think he's a two-timing rat.
I beg your pardon?
Over there, they've just come in.
So that's Rosalind. Who's the fellow with him?
He's probably some mate of his from the embassy. Honestly, I think that's the limit. I mean, if it's a double date, why wasn't I asked to come too?
You better ask him.
I shall do no such thing. I don't want to ever speak to him again.
Who is this Rosalind, anyway?
No, she's an actress, really, only she doesn't get many parts. I think her mother went to school with Mrs. Holland Fox.
Rusty, do they have any bedrooms upstairs here?
Oh, Mr. van der Merwe. I thought you'd never ask. Yes, Mr. Stavros does have a room.
Only one?
Well, yes, I think so. Why?
Well, it looks as though Mr. Vectis and party have gone up to it.
Oh, of all the cheek. That means we'll have to find somewhere else.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, do stop saying that. It's common. Look, I know quite a nice place in Bayswater.
Rusty, that's all right. I've got a number of my own.
I'm not here.
Good evening. No, I'm afraid Chief Superintendent Kingdom isn't here. Can I help? It's Grant's lawyer again. Hello there, Mr. Hammond. I got good news for you this time. We've just sent your client home in a minicab. Well, Mr. Grant was very helpful to our inquiries, and we too apologize for keeping him so long. Oh, I'll tell him that. Goodbye, sir. Goodbye.
That's ruined his evening. He was really looking forward to getting out of habeas corpus. I know that sort of lawyer.
Sergeant Murphy. That's Ward, sir.
Oh. Hello, Alan. Well, you were right about that chum of Moishe Dahlberg's. You walked straight into it. Oh, a third-rate little bandit name of Enderby, just come out from doing 5 in the Ville. No history of violence. He must have panicked. Yeah, we've had to let Grant go. His lawyer was phoning up every 5 minutes. Anyway, how are you making out? What sort of a bird have they fixed you up with?
Well, look, didn't you say that Vectis was trying to arrange a double date?
That's right. Vectis and a friend, and Rusty Jackson and another girl.
Yes, well, Rusty's here with me.
Oh? Where's here?
The Salonica. And there's definitely something funny going on.
Well, make me laugh.
Well, Vectis and his mate have just come in with a blonde girl, and they've gone straight upstairs.
But if Rusty couldn't come, why didn't they send another girl?
What's the matter, Mr. Vectis? Don't you like me?
Sure I like you, Rosalind. You're a very nice girl. But what about my poor friend, Alexei?
For Alexei has no one.
Maybe if we give him another drink, he'll fall asleep.
But I thought it was Alexei who liked blondes.
Me too. I like all kinds of girls. Let's have another drink.
No, thanks.
Supposed to be for me.
Look, why don't you work it out between yourselves? Honestly, it doesn't worry me either way. Anyhow, I'm going to the loo.
She's taking her time.
She's making herself pretty, Alexei, for both of us.
What are you doing here?
I'm looking for a camera.
Well, she says she was raped. You say she wasn't, so...
Well, I don't see how she could have been, unless it happened in the second or two that I was arguing with the Greek. No, she couldn't have been. It's not possible.
Well, according to this statement, they attacked her violently, and she just managed to escape to the bathroom.
No.
And somebody tipped off all the newspapers. Press office says they're all onto it. So, what do you make of all that?
A big fat frame-up.
Yes.
Mrs. Holland Foxon.
Can't imagine why I should be dragged here in the middle of the night. What's it got to do with me? And what's he doing here?
Do sit down, Mrs. Holland Fox.
I want to know why you sent that girl off on that date alone.
I don't have to answer any questions.
Who says so?
My brother.
Your brother?
It's got nothing to do with me if one of my employees gets herself raped by an oversexed foreigner.
How do you know she was raped?
The newspapers rang me up about it.
You quite sure it wasn't the other way round?
Certain. You can ask my brother. He was with me at the time.
Oh, now, Colonel, I really am very busy.
Kingdom, I must ask you to release my sister immediately. I told you to steer clear of all this. You don't know what you're getting into.
Well, Colonel, I wondered why you were so keen to head me off. I suppose you wanted me to stop my investigations because your sister was involved. Well, I'd like to know what your bosses at the Foreign Office will have to say about that.
Oh, I don't think they're going to mind too much.
You don't?
No. Because, you see, in a way, they're my bosses, too. I think I can say that, can't I, Harold? I mean, part-time, at any rate.
Oh. I see. And what exactly does this part-time work consist of?
Just exerting a little gentle pressure, old boy. Helping us get rid of the undesirables.
Like Madame Queng, for instance.
Poor Madame Queng. I really feel very sorry for her. Well, Jeff Grant did give her something to look back on. I imagine she's slaving away now in some dreary collective farm. Those freedom-loving countries can be so puritanical.
What about this man Vectis? What were you trying to do to him? Get him locked up on a false charge? I don't care what sort of a villain he is. I'm not going to stand for that.
Fortunately, I should think the case is out of your hands by now. The Moravians have probably smuggled him out of the country already in disgrace.
Much better that they should whisk him away, don't you think? Saves a lot of embarrassment all round.
Perhaps I can try to have him whisked back again. Do we have an extradition treaty?
No.
Oh.
And you don't really think Rosalind was ravished, do you? I don't know what you're making all this fuss about. Could I go home now?
Yes, you can go home.
Thank you. Oh, and do remember, won't you, if you have any colleagues visiting London from Interpol or anywhere like that, and they're at a loose end, you will give me a buzz.
Good night, Mrs. Holland Fox.
I did like your Australian accent.
Yeah, it was meant to be South African.
Was it? Oh. Oh, would you give this to Mr. Kingdom? A little souvenir.
Good night, Kingdom. Good night, Ward.
Good night, Colonel.
Well, we caught a murderer. Kind of everything, I suppose.
What about the photos?
Special branch for Colonel Pugh. I'm sure he keeps an eye on them.
Including this one.
What's that?